The massive ship cut through space like a knife, its red hull shining under the distant sun. This was the scout vessel of the Red Dragon Pack, feared across 3 star systems. Commander Deho stood tall on the bridge, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the blue-green planet on the main screen. "Earth," he said, the word strange on his forked tongue. "Home of the humans." Lieutenant Hannah moved to his side, her red scales gleaming under the ship's lights. Unlike Deho's heavy build, she was slim and quick, perfect for her role as head of intelligence. "Our scans show they have spread to Mars as well," she reported. "Small colony, about 200 humans." Deho nodded. "The Council wants to know if humans are a threat. They breed quickly and build faster. In 50 years, they might challenge us. Should we attack now?" asked Hannah. "While they are still weak?" "No." Deho turned from the screen. "We study first, then decide." The bridge crew worked in silence. Each member of the Red Dragon Pack focused on their task. They were reptilian in form, with tough red scales covering their bodies and sharp teeth lining their jaws. Yet they were warm-blooded and carried their young in special pouches. Until the babies were strong enough to survive on their own, "Send a small team to Mars," ordered Deho. "The colony is isolated. Easier to study without being seen." Hannah nodded. "I recommend Jin, Tai, and Suk, our best scouts. Make it so." In the launch bay, the 3 scouts prepared their small craft. Jin, the team leader, checked the stealth systems one last time. He was older than the others, with battle scars crossing his snout. "Remember," he told his team, "we watch only. No contact with the humans." Tai, the weapons expert, secured his blaster. "And if they spot us, we leave," Jin said firmly. "This is not a fight mission." Suk, the youngest and their science officer, looked up from her scanner. "The humans have basic detection systems. Our stealth tech should keep us hidden." What none of them mentioned was the precious cargo they carried. Each scout had a single hatchling in their pouch barely a week old. It was not ideal to bring young on a mission, but the 3 had been away on a long patrol when their eggs hatched. Pack law forbade separating parents from new hatchlings. The small craft detached from the mother ship and slipped toward Mars, its engines barely a whisper against the void. Inside, Jin studied the mission briefing again. "The human colony is in Vales Marineris. We'll land in the highlands and observe from a distance." Suk adjusted their course. "Their technology is primitive compared to ours. They still use combustion engines and basic solar power. Do not underestimate them," warned Jin. "The Council says they adapt quickly." The craft entered Mars' atmosphere smoothly, its stealth systems masking their heat signature. But as they descended toward the landing zone, warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Something's wrong," Suk said, her claws flying over the controls. "The atmospheric composition is affecting our engines differently than expected." The craft lurched suddenly, throwing them against their restraints. Jin felt his hatchling squirm in distress within his pouch stabilize. He ordered, "I'm trying." Suk hissed, fighting the controls. "The stealth system is draining too much power." Tai reached over and flipped a switch, shutting down stealth. "We need the power for landing." "No." Jin protested, but it was too late. The craft became visible on human scanners just as it lost altitude control. They plummeted toward the red surface, the engine screaming in protest. "Brace for impact," Jin shouted, curling his body to protect his pouch. The crash sent them tumbling across the Martian soil, metal tearing and systems failing. When the craft finally stopped, silence fell except for the hiss of escaping air and the soft moans of the injured scouts. Jin fought to stay conscious. Blood thick and dark dripped from a gash on his head. He looked around the damaged cabin. Tai and Suk lay motionless in their seats, but he could see their chests rising and falling. Alive, but hurt. He tried to reach the emergency beacon, but found his arm wouldn't move properly. The pain told him it was broken. Worse, he felt a strange coolness from his pouch. His hatchling needed warmth to survive. Outside the broken viewport, the red landscape of Mars stretched empty and hostile. Jin knew they were in trouble. The mother ship wouldn't miss them for at least a day, and without the beacon, they might never be found. Then he saw out a plume of dust on the horizon. Something was coming. At Mars Outpost Alpha. Chief Engineer Park Sung-min had been the first to notice the strange reading. On the atmospheric scanner, Director Kim, he called over the comm. Something just entered our atmosphere. Too small for a meteor, too controlled for space junk. The director's voice crackled back. Natural phenomenon? No, sir. It was using some kind of cloaking technology. It only appeared on our scanners when the system failed. There was a pause. Where did it land? Sung-min checked the coordinates. About 15 kilometers from the outpost. In the Western Highlands. Could be a probe from Earth. They're always testing new tech without telling us. Maybe, Sung-min said. But he didn't believe it. Earth would have warned them about any incoming mission. Request permission to check it out. Denied. Came the immediate response. We don't know what it is. Sung-min frowned. It could be someone in trouble, or it could be dangerous. We wait for more information. After signing off, Sung-min sat quietly at his station. He was 32 years old, with a round face that made him look younger. His colleagues called him the soft heart because he couldn't ignore anyone or anything in need. He looked at the rover keys hanging by the airlock. 20 minutes later, Sung-min was driving across the Martian surface, his rover kicking up red dust behind him. He had told no one where he was going. If something happened to him, at least the colony would be safe. As he crested a ridge, he saw a crashed ship unlike any human design he'd ever seen. Its hull was a deep red color that almost matched the Martian soil, with strange curves and angles that spoke of alien engineering. Sung-min stopped the rover and stared. First contact. After all humanity's searching, first contact had come to him, a simple engineer on Mars. He should go back. Report this. Wait for experts. Then he saw movement through a crack in the ship's hull. Something was alive in there. Sung-min grabbed his emergency medical kit and opened the rover door. Well, he said to himself as he stepped onto the red soil, let's go meet the neighbors. Sung-min approached the crashed ship slowly. His heart beat fast in his chest. He had trained as an engineer, not a first contact specialist. Every step closer to the alien craft made him question his decision to come alone. The ship was about the size of two rovers put together. Its red metal skin was torn open on one side. Strange symbols marked its hull. Smoke rose from damaged parts, and a clear fluid leaked onto the red Martian soil. Hello? Sung-min called out, feeling foolish. I'm here to help. No response came from the ship. Sung-min moved closer, medical kit held tight in his gloved hands. The colony had good medical supplies for humans, but would they work on aliens? He had no idea. When he reached the torn hull, Sung-min peered inside. The sight made him gasp. 3 creatures lay in the damaged cabin. They looked like a mix between humans and lizards. Red scales covered their bodies. They had long snouts with sharp teeth and clawed hands. 2 were strapped in seats, not moving. The third was trying to free itself, making weak hissing sounds. The conscious alien Jin saw the human and froze. His hand moved slowly toward a weapon at his side. Sung-min raised his empty hands. I'm not going to hurt you, he said calmly. I want to help. Jin didn't understand the words, but the tone and gesture were clear. This human showed no fear or aggression. Jin's training told him to attack anyway. Humans were potential enemies of the pack, but his broken arm and the injured hatchling in his pouch made fighting impossible. Sung-min noticed the alien was protecting something against its chest. He also saw the dark fluid, probably blood running from a cut on its head. Making a decision, Sung-min opened his medical kit and took out a bandage. He pointed to his own head, then to the alien's wound, trying to show his intent. Jin watched the human carefully. In all his years as a scout, he had never seen an enemy offer help. The pack teaching said other species were either threats or food. This behavior made no sense. Slowly, Jin lowered his hand from his weapon. He had no choice but to accept help if his team was to survive. Sung-min took this as permission. He stepped into the ship and moved toward the injured alien. Up close, the creature was even stranger. Its scales had a pattern like flowing water. Its eyes had vertical pupils that watched Sung-min's every move. I'm going to stop the bleeding, Sung-min said, knowing the alien couldn't understand, but hoping his voice would be calming. He carefully placed the bandage on the head wound. Jin flinched at the touch but allowed it. The human's hands were gentle. The bleeding slowed. Sungmin checked the other two aliens. They were alive but unconscious. One had a deep cut on its leg. The other seemed to have hit its head hard. Both needed better medical care than he could provide here. I need to get you somewhere safe, Sungmin said. He pointed to his rover, then made a lifting motion. Jin understood. The human wanted to move them. But where? To a prison? To be studied? Jin had no good options. His team would die without help, and the hatchlings in their pouches would die with them. Jin made a decision. He nodded once. Sungmin smiled with relief. He went to his rover and brought back a collapsible stretcher. One by one, he helped move the unconscious aliens Tai and Sukhanto's stretchers and into the rover. Jin was able to walk with help, leaning on Sungmin's shoulder. The rover was crowded with 3 aliens and 1 human. Sungmin started the engine and turned away from the colony. Jin noticed this and made a questioning sound. He pointed in the direction of the human settlement they had seen from orbit. Sungmin shook his head. Not go in there. Too many questions. I know a better place. He drove for 30 minutes across the Martian landscape. Jin watched through the window, noting landmarks. His military training never stopped, even now. They arrived at a small building, half buried in the red soil. It had the same design as the human colony, but looked abandoned. Research outpost. Sungmin explained, though Jin couldn't understand. Not used since last year. Has power, air, and supplies. Inside, the outpost was dusty but intact. It had a main room with tables and equipment, a small medical bay, sleeping quarters, and a storage area. Sungmin turned on the power and life support systems. Home sweet home, he said. At least for now. He helped Jin to a bed in the medical bay, then brought in the other 2 aliens. Using the outpost's medical scanner, Sungmin checked their injuries. The scanner was designed for humans, but it could still show broken bones and bleeding. Jin had a broken arm and a head wound. Tai had a concussion and 3 broken ribs. Suk had a deep cut on her leg and internal bleeding. All 3 needed treatment beyond Sungmin's skills. As Sungmin prepared bandages and splints, he noticed Jin making distressed sounds. The alien kept touching a pouch-like opening on its torso. Something moved inside. Sungmin's eyes widened. You're carrying something? Jin understood the human's surprise. With great care, he opened his pouch wider. Inside was a tiny version of himself, a baby alien with bright red scales and closed eyes. The little one was shivering. A baby, Sungmin whispered. You have a baby. Jin made urgent gestures. The hatchling needed warmth. The crash had damaged Jin's ability to keep his pouch at the right temperature. Sungmin checked the other aliens and found they each had a baby too. 3 adult aliens, 3 babies, all needing help. Without hesitation, Sungmin turned up the room temperature. He found emergency blankets in the supplies and wrapped them around the aliens. For the babies, he made small warm nests using soft cloths. Jin watched in amazement as this human, a species they had come to assess as a threat, worked tirelessly to save not just the adults, but their young as well. In pack culture, only family would show such care for hatchlings. Hours passed. Sungmin used the outpost's communication system to send a message to the colony. Director Kim, this is Sungmin. I'm staying at the old research outpost for a few days. Found some interesting geology samples. Will report back soon. It was a lie, but Sungmin needed time. If the colony knew about the aliens, they would call Earth would send military. The aliens might be seen as a threat. Sungmin didn't want that. As night fell on Mars, Sungmin checked on his patients. Tai and Suk were still unconscious but stable. Jin was awake, watching him. The alien's baby was still shivering despite the warm nest. Jin made a sound of distress. Sungmin understood. Without thinking twice, he gently lifted the tiny alien and held it against his chest. Under his thermal jacket, body heat, he explained. Sometimes it's the best medicine. Jin stared at this human holding his hatchling. In that moment, everything the pack had taught him about humans seemed wrong. This creature, with its soft skin and strange face, was saving his child for the first time. Jin wondered if their mission had been based on a mistake. Morning came to Mars with a pale pink light through the outpost windows. Sungmin woke with a start. Something warm moved against his chest. He looked down and saw the tiny alien baby still nestled inside his jacket. The little creature had slept peacefully all night, its breathing steady and strong. "Well, good morning to you two," Sungmin whispered. He carefully got up and checked on the adult aliens. Jin was awake, watching him with those strange vertical pupil eyes. The other two, Tai and Suk, were stirring now. Their injuries looked better after a night of rest. Sung-min gently returned the baby to Jin. The alien took the hatchling and placed it back in his pouch. Jin made a sound that Sungmin couldn't understand, but the nod that came with it seemed like thanks. "You're welcome," Sungmin said. "Let's check on the other little ones." The babies in Tai and Suk's pouches were not doing as well. They were too cold, their tiny bodies shivering. Sungmin frowned. The adults were still too weak to keep their pouches warm enough. "They need more heat," he said, mostly to himself. He found a heating pad in the medical supplies and carefully placed it near but not directly on Tai's pouch. For Suk's baby, he again used his own body heat, holding the tiny creature against his chest while he prepared food. The outpost had basic supplies: dried food, water, and medical items. Sungmin didn't know what the aliens ate, so he offered them water first. Jin took a small sip, then nodded. The aliens could drink earth water. Food was trickier. Sungmin tried offering different things: dried fruit, protein bars, soup. The aliens sniffed each item carefully. They rejected most things, but accepted the dried meat and some vegetables. As they ate, Sungmin tried to communicate. He pointed to himself. "Sungmin," Jin understood. He pointed to himself. Jin, then to the others. "Tai, Suk," Sungmin smiled. "Jin, Tai, Suk," he pointed to the babies. "And these little ones?" Jin seemed to understand the question. He touched his hatchling and made a sound that Sungmin couldn't copy. It was too full of clicks and hisses for a human mouth. "I'll just call this one Red," Sungmin said, touching Jin's baby gently. "And these two can be Tiny and Spark." He pointed to Tai and Suk's babies. The day passed with small steps forward. Sungmin cleaned wounds and changed bandages. He held the babies when they needed extra warmth. He tried to learn more about the aliens, and they seemed to study him to dot. By evening, something amazing happened. Jin spoke. "Human, help, why?" Sungmin nearly dropped the cup he was holding. "You can speak my language?" Jin made a gesture with his good hand. "Learn, fast, why help?" Sungmin sat down across from Jin. "Because you needed help. You were hurt." Jin's head tilted to one side. "We different, not same kind. That doesn't matter," Sungmin said. "Helping others is what we do. Well, what we should do anyway." This concept seemed to confuse Jin. He spoke to Tai and Suk in their own language, a series of clicks, hisses, and rumbling sounds. They responded, looking at Sungmin with new interest. Jin turned back to the human. "Pack teaches other kinds are threat or food." Sungmin tried not to show his shock at this blunt statement. "Is that why you came to Mars? To see if we're a threat or food?" Jin nodded. "Mission, study humans. Report to Pack." "And what will you report now?" Sungmin asked quietly. Jin looked at his sleeping hatchling, then at the other babies now resting comfortably in makeshift nests Sungmin had created. "Not know yet." That night, as the temperature on Mars dropped, the outpost grew colder. The heating system worked, but couldn't keep up with the bitter Martian night. The adult aliens seemed to find their scaled bodies handled cold better than human skin. But the babies were struggling again. Sungmin gathered all three hatchlings and sat on his bed, cradling them against his chest. He wrapped a thermal blanket around them all. "Body heat," he explained to the watching parents. "They'll be warmer this way." Jin, Tai, and Suk exchanged looks. In their culture, no one but parents touched hatchlings. Yet they didn't object. Their young needed the warmth, and this strange human had proven trustworthy. As the night deepened, Sungmin talked to the tiny aliens nestled against him. "You know, on Earth we have animals called lizards that look a bit like your parents, but they're not smart like your mom and dad. They can't build spaceships or learn languages in a day." The babies made tiny chirping sounds, as if responding to his voice. "I wonder what your world is like. Do you have cities, schools? Do you play games? I have so many questions." Jin watched from across the room. The humans' gentle handling of their young was confusing. In pack society, strength was valued above all. Weakness was not tolerated. Yet this human showed great care for creatures that were not his own kind. Was this weakness or a different kind of strength? By morning, Jin could speak in simple but clear sentences. His ability to learn was remarkable. "Our ship," he said to Sungmin. "Others will look." Sungmin nodded. "Your people will come looking for you." "Yes, soon. Will they be friendly?" Sungmin asked. Jin's silence was answer enough. Sungmin checked the outpost's radar system. It was basic but could detect ships entering Mars orbit. So far, nothing had appeared. "How long until they come?" Jin thought for a moment. 3 days. Maybe 4. Sungmin nodded. "Then we have time to get you all stronger." Over the next 2 days, the aliens improved quickly. Their bodies healed faster than human bodies would. Tai and Suk began to speak a few words of human language. The babies grew stronger too, their scales becoming brighter red. Sungmin learned more about the Red Dragon Pack. They controlled 3 star systems. They believed in strength and conquest. Other species were either conquered or avoided. The pack had never found another intelligent species they considered equals. Humans spread fast. Jin explained. "Pack watches, worries, we're just exploring," Sungmin said. "We don't want to conquer anyone." Jin made a sound that might have been a laugh. "All species say this. Until they can conquer." On the 3rd day, Sungmin was teaching the aliens about Earth when tiny. Tai's hatchling did something unexpected. The baby alien crawled from its nest across the floor and up onto Sungmin's lap. It curled up there and fell asleep. Tai watched with wide eyes. "Not normal," he said in his new, broken human speech. "Hatchlings fear strangers." Sungmin gently stroked the baby's head. "I'm not a stranger anymore, am I? We're friends now." That word, friends, made all 3 adult aliens go still. Jin spoke in their language to the others, then turned to Sungmin. "This word, friends. Pack has no word like this for other kinds. Maybe it's time you made one," Sungmin suggested. That evening, as Sungmin prepared dinner, all 3 hatchlings crawled onto his lap and fell asleep. The adult aliens watched in amazement as their young, normally shy and fearful of anything not. Pack trusted this human completely. Sungmin looked down at the sleeping babies, then up at their parents. "I think they're trying to tell us something important." Before Jin could answer, the outpost's alarm system began to beep. Sungmin checked the radar screen and felt his heart sink. "A ship has entered Mars orbit," he said. "A big one." Jin nodded grimly. "Pack comes." The alarm kept beeping. Sungmin stared at the radar screen, watching the large red dot that showed the alien ship. It was moving into a low orbit around Mars. "How many on that ship?" he asked Jin. "Many warriors," Jin replied. "Commander Daeho leads. He is strict, follows pack law always." Sungmin swallowed hard. "And pack law says what about other species?" Jin looked away. "If threat, remove. If useful, use. If neither, ignore." "And which one are we humans?" Sungmin asked, though he feared he knew the answer. "Council thinks potential threat. Growing too fast. Too curious." Tai joined the conversation, his speech still rough but improving. "Daeho will think humans captured us. We'll come with weapons ready." Sungmin looked down at the 3 baby aliens sleeping peacefully on his lap. Their tiny chests rose and fell with each breath. They trusted him completely. How could he protect them and their parents from what was coming? "We need a plan," he said. Suk, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Tell truth. Show Daeho what happened." Jin shook his head. "Daeho may not listen. May think human tricks us. Then what do we do?" Sungmin asked. They fell silent, each lost in thought. The radar beeped again. The ship was changing position. "They search for our craft," Jin explained. "We'll find soon." Sungmin gently moved the sleeping babies to their nests. He stood and paced the room. "I could go back to my colony. Bring help." "No," Jin said firmly. "More humans make pack more angry. Think attack coming." Sungmin knew Jin was right. Bringing more humans would only make things worse. The colony wasn't prepared for first contact, especially not with a species that saw them as a threat. "Then I face them alone," Sungmin decided. "I show them I helped you. That humans aren't a threat." The 3 aliens exchanged looks. In their culture, facing a superior force alone was either very brave or very foolish. Perhaps both. I go too, Jin said. Explain. We all go, Tai added. Show Pack the truth. Sungmin smiled at them. Thank you. They spent the next hour preparing. Sungmin gathered medical supplies and food. The aliens checked their communication devices, hoping to contact their ship before the warriors reached them. Signal blocked, Suk said. Frustrated. Mountains in way. Then we wait for them to find us, Sungmin said, and hope they're in a listening mood. Night fell on Mars. The outpost was quiet except for the soft chirping of the baby aliens. Sungmin couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, watching the stars and thinking about what morning would bring. Jin joined him. Not sleep. Too nervous, Sungmin admitted. Jin nodded. Same. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jin spoke again. Why help us? Truth. Sungmin thought about it. Because it was right. You were hurt. Your babies needed help. What else could I do? Could leave us. Could call your leaders. Could take us as prisoners. That's not who I am, Sungmin said simply. That's not who most humans are. Jin made a sound that Sungmin had learned was thoughtful consideration. Pack teaches strength is everything. Mercy is weakness. Is it weak to care for others? To help when you can? Pack says yes. And what do you say, Jin? The alien was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked at Sungmin with those strange vertical pupil eyes. I say Pack may be wrong. Morning came too quickly. The radar showed multiple small craft leaving the main ship. The rescue party was on its way. They will land soon, Jin said. 2 hours, maybe less. Sungmin nodded. Then we get ready. They ate a quick meal. Sungmin checked the babies, who were all stronger now. Their scales were bright red, and they moved with more energy. He helped the adult aliens prepare a message in their language, explaining what had happened. Will Daeho listen to this? Sungmin asked. Jin's expression was hard to read with his alien features, but his voice was grim. Maybe, if angry, maybe not. An hour later, the radar beeped urgently. Small ships landing, Suk reported. 5 kilometers west. How many? Asked Sungmin. 10 ships. Each carries for warriors. 40 total. Sungmin felt his mouth go dry. 40 armed warriors against 1 human engineer. Great odds. Jin put a clawed hand on Sungmin's shoulder. We stand with you. The gesture meant more to Sungmin than Jin could know. Thank you, my friend. The word hung in the air between them. Jin didn't correct it. They watched through the outpost windows as dust clouds appeared on the horizon. The rescue party was coming fast, using some kind of hover vehicles that skimmed over the Martian surface. They will surround building, Tai said. Standard Pack tactics, Sungmin nodded. Then we go outside before they arrive. Show we're not hiding. They gathered what they needed, the recorded message. Medical supplies for the babies, and a white cloth Sungmin had found. On Earth, white flags meant peace. He hoped the aliens would understand or at least pause before shooting. As they prepared to leave the outpost, Sungmin checked the babies one last time. They were awake and alert, making soft chirping sounds. They should stay here, he said. Safer, Jin shook his head. No, Daeho must see them. See they are well, Sungmin understood. The babies were proof that he had helped, not harmed, the aliens. All right, but they'll need to stay warm. He found a carrier made from soft cloth and designed it to hang across his chest. The 3 baby aliens fit inside, nestled against his body heat. Ready? He asked the adult aliens. They nodded, though Sungmin could see they were nervous. Going against Pack expectations was not something they were used to doing. They stepped outside into the cold Martian morning. The dust clouds were closer now. Sungmin could make out the shapes of vehicles approaching fast. How do we get their attention? He asked. Jin pointed to a device on his belt. Emergency signal. We'll make them come here first. He activated it, and a bright red light began to pulse. Almost immediately, the approaching vehicles changed direction, heading straight for them. Sungmin took a deep breath. The babies chirped softly against his chest, seemingly unafraid. He held up the white cloth in one hand. Here they come, he said. The alien vehicles were sleek and red, matching the color of their scales. They moved with incredible speed, surrounding the outpost in seconds. Warriors jumped from the vehicles, weapons raised. They were larger than Jin and his team, with more elaborate markings on their scales. At the center stood a commanding figure taller than the rest, with scars across his snout and chest. His eyes fixed on Sung Min with cold calculation. "Commander Daeho," Jin said quietly. Daeho barked orders in the alien language. The warriors formed a tight circle round Sung Min and the 3 scouts. Sung Min stood his ground, the white cloth still raised. The babies in the carrier sensed the tension and went quiet. Daeho stepped forward, his weapon pointed at Sung Min's head. He spoke in the alien language, his voice harsh and demanding. Jin answered, gesturing to Sung Min and then to their healed wounds. Daeho's eyes narrowed. He barked another question. "He asks why you help us," Jin translated. "Says must be trick." Sung Min looked directly at Daeho. "No trick. You were hurt, I helped. That's all," Jin translated. Daeho's expression didn't change. He stepped closer, his weapon still aimed at Sung Min. Then something unexpected happened. One of the babies' little red poked his head out of the carrier and chirped loudly at Daeho. The commander froze, his eyes fixed on the baby. The other 2 hatchlings joined in, all 3 now looking at Daeho and making happy chirping sounds. They showed no fear of the commander, only curiosity. Daeho lowered his weapon slightly. He spoke again, his voice softer now. "He asks why our hatchlings trust you," Jin said. Sung Min smiled. "Because I cared for them, kept them warm when their parents couldn't." As Jin translated, the babies chirped again, as if confirming the story. One of them reached a tiny clawed hand toward Daeho. The commander's stern expression faltered. In pack culture, hatchlings were sacred. Their instincts were considered pure and uncorrupted by outside influence. If these hatchlings trusted the human, Daeho spoke again, this time directly to the 3 scouts. They answered together, their voices firm. The tension in the air changed. Daeho lowered his weapon completely. "What did he ask?" Sung Min whispered to Jin. "He asked if you harmed us, if you took us prisoner." Jin's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "We told him truth. You saved us, saved our young." Daeho approached Sung Min slowly. The human stood his ground, though his heart raced. The commander stopped just in front of him, looking down at the babies in the carrier. All 3 hatchlings chirped happily at Daeho. Then, to everyone's surprise, Tiny climbed out of the carrier and up onto Sung Min's shoulder. From there, the brave little alien chirped directly into Daeho's face. The commander made a sound Sung Min hadn't heard before. It took him a moment to realize it might be laughter. Commander Daeho's laugh surprised everyone. The warriors behind him shifted uneasily, not used to seeing their leader show such emotion. The tiny hatchling on Sung Min's shoulder chirped again, as if telling Daeho a secret. Daeho spoke in his language. Jin translated for Sung Min. "He says hatchlings never lie. If they trust you, there must be reason." Sung Min nodded. "I just helped them. That's all." Daeho studied Sung Min with those reptilian eyes. Then he did something unexpected. He put his weapon away and held out his hand, palm up. Jin gasped. "This is unusual. He offers peace hand." Sung Min understood. He shifted the babies in their carrier and placed his hand on top of Daeho's. The commander's scales felt rough but warm. "Human," Daeho said in a deep, rumbling voice. It was the first word he had spoken in English. "Yes," Sung Min replied. "Human, friend." Jin translated the word friend. Daeho's head tilted to one side. Considering this new concept, the tension in the air eased. The warriors lowered their weapons, following their commander's lead. Daeho turned and gave orders. The warriors spread out, some returning to their vehicles, others setting up a perimeter around the outpost. "What's happening?" Sung Min asked Jin. "Daeho wants to talk. Learn more. This is not normal. Pack usually decides quickly. Fight or leave." Daeho turned back to Sung Min and spoke again. "He asks to see inside." Jin translated. "Where you kept us safe?" Sung Min nodded. Of course, they went back into the outpost. Daeho looked at everything, the medical supplies Sung Min had used, the nests he had made for the babies, the food he had shared. The commander touched each item, as if trying to understand the story it told. The babies were getting restless in their carrier. Sungmin gently took them out and placed them in their nests. They immediately began playing, rolling and chirping happily. Daeho watched them with an expression Sungmin couldn't read. The commander spoke to Jin at length. He asks how you knew to care for hatchlings, Jin said. Says even some pack members don't know proper way. Sungmin shrugged. I just did what seemed right. Keep them warm, feed them, let them sleep when tired, play when awake. As Jin translated, Daeho nodded slowly. He spoke again, this time looking directly at Sungmin. He says you have parent instinct, good quality. Sungmin smiled. Thank you. Daeho continued speaking, with Jin translating. We came to study humans. Decide if threat. Council worried about your kind. Spread fast. Build fast. Take resources. We're just exploring, Sungmin said. Learning about our solar system. We don't want to fight anyone, Jin translated. Daeho considered this, then spoke again. He says all species say this, but actions show truth. Your actions. Jin paused, seeming surprised by Daeho's words. Your actions show honor, courage, compassion. Sungmin hadn't expected this. I just did what anyone would do. When Jin translated this, Daeho made that laughing sound again. He replied at length. He says no, not what anyone would do. Many would fear different species. Many would call leaders, bring weapons. You came alone, helped enemies, cared for young not your own. Daeho stepped closer to Sungmin. The commander was much taller, his presence intimidating despite his now peaceful manner. He spoke again, his voice solemn. Pack law clear, Jin translated. Species that threatens pack must be watched or removed. Species that helps pack. Jin paused again, looking surprised. Species that helps pack can be ally. Sungmin felt a wave of relief. Ally sounds much better than enemy. Daeho nodded as Jin translated. The commander looked at the playing hatchlings, then back at Sungmin. He spoke again. He asks what you want. Reward for helping. Sungmin thought about it. This was a chance to ask for technology, knowledge, protection. But that wasn't why he had helped. I want peace, he said simply. I want our species to learn from each other, not fear each other. When Jin translated, Daeho's expression changed. He looked at Sungmin with what might have been respect. Wise answer, Jin translated. Daeho says you speak like pack elder, not young human. Sungmin smiled. I'm not that young. I'm 32. This seemed to amuse Daeho. He spoke again, and Jin laughed. He says he is 162. You are hatchling to him. The day passed with more talk. Daeho sent most of his warriors back to the ship, keeping only a small guard. He wanted to learn about humans, and Sungmin was happy to teach him. Sungmin showed Daeho pictures of Earth on his tablet, the oceans, mountains, cities, and people. Daeho seemed most interested in how humans lived together, how they governed themselves, and how they treated other species on their planet. Not always well, Sungmin admitted when asked about Earth's animals. We're still learning to be better caretakers of our world. Daeho nodded as if this confirmed something. He spoke to Jin. He says all intelligent species face this test. How they treat weaker creatures shows their true nature. As evening approached, Daeho received a message from the main ship. He listened, then spoke to Jin with urgency. Council calls, Jin translated. What report now? Daeho must return to ship. Sungmin felt a pang of worry. What will you tell them? Daeho looked at Sungmin for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice firm. Truth. Jin translated. Humans helped pack when no reason to help. Saved hatchlings. Showed honor. Not threat, potential ally. Will they believe you? Sungmin asked. Daeho made a gesture that Sungmin had learned meant confidence. Daeho is war leader. Voice respected. Council listens. The commander turned to leave, then stopped. He looked at the 3 hatchlings, now sleeping peacefully in their nests. He spoke again. He asks permission to tell hatchling's story to all pack, Jin said. Says it will change how pack sees other species. Sungmin nodded. Of course, Daeho did something then that shocked Jin, Tai, and Suk. He placed his hand on Sungmin's shoulder, a gesture of equality in pack culture. Human Sungmin. Daeho said in his rough English. Pack remembers those who help. You help pack young. We not forget. With that, he turned and left the outpost. His remaining guards followed, leaving Sungmin alone with Jin, Tai, Suk, and the babies. What happens now? Sungmin asked. Jin looked thoughtful. Now we wait. Council decides. But Daeho's word is strong. That night, as the babies slept in their nests, Sungmin sat with the 3 adult aliens. They talked about their worlds, their customs, their hopes. Despite their differences, Sungmin found they shared many of the same values: family, learning, exploration. Will you go back to your ship tomorrow? Sungmin asked. Jin nodded. Yes, must report to Council directly. Tell what we saw, what we learned, and what did you learn? Sungmin asked. Jin looked at his sleeping hatchling, then at Sungmin. Learned that pack teaching's not always right. Other species can be more than threat or food. Can be, he hesitated, then used the new word, friends. Morning came with a surprise. A message from Daeho arrived, transmitted directly to Jin's communication device. Jin read it, his eyes widening. Council decision made, he told Sungmin. Humans classified as potential allies. Cultural exchange approved. Sungmin could hardly believe it. What does that mean? Means pack will send diplomats, not warriors. We'll learn from humans. Share some knowledge. That's wonderful. Sungmin exclaimed. Jin wasn't finished. Also means you first human ambassador to pack. If accept. Sungmin stared at him. Me, but I'm just an engineer. I don't know anything about being an ambassador. Jin made the gesture for confidence that he had learned from Daeho. You know, most important thing, how to see past differences, how to help when no reason to help. As they prepared to leave the outpost, Sungmin packed his few belongings. He would need to explain to Director Kim why he had disappeared for days. He would need to tell Earth about first contact. There would be meetings, questions, probably some anger that he had acted alone. But looking at the 3 baby aliens, now strong and playful, Sungmin knew he would do it all again. Jin approached with his hatchling in his arms. Red wants to say goodbye. Sungmin smiled at the name he had given the baby. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. He gently stroked the hatchling's head. The tiny alien chirped and reached out a clawed hand to touch Sungmin's face. Outside, Daeho waited with transport vehicles. The morning sun made the red Martian landscape glow like fire. Sungmin took one last look at the outpost that had been their shelter, then turned to face the future. The pack came for blood. Jin said quietly beside him. Found something better. What's that? Asked Sung-min. Jin looked at his hatchling, then at the human who had saved them. Hope. As they boarded the vehicles, Sungmin thought about the strange path that had led him here. One decision to investigate a crash instead of reporting it had changed everything. Not just for him, but for 2 species who might have been enemies. The Red Dragon pack had indeed come for blood. Instead, they found their babies asleep on a human's chest, a simple act of kindness that spoke louder than any weapon. And in that moment, the future changed.